we were already proving with archaeological evidence that everything that was written about this temple was wrong. When I study carefully the last days of Cleopatra, I realized it was the beginning of a religious act. And at the depth of 23 meters, we found 2 skeletons. Because of this shaft, we continue our search for Cleopatra.
Cleopatra's DNA reveals something no one expected, and it is disturbing.
Cleopatra, a goddess and drop-dead gorgeous.
For over 100 years, we thought we had her sister's skeleton locked in a Vienna archive, the closest genetic mirror to the most famous woman in history. In 2025, AI-assisted forensic analysis cracked it open. The sister was not a sister at all. It was a deformed adolescent boy from Italy. And that single failure just unlocked something far darker about Cleopatra's real biology: the shattered mirror. For a century, archaeologists believed they had solved the greatest riddle in ancient history. They believed they could reconstruct Cleopatra's face through her dead sister's bones. They were wrong about almost everything. That sister was Arsinoe IV, and her story is short and brutal. When Cleopatra was exiled from Egypt, Arsinoe seized the throne.
The action when I entered the temple was to laugh because I knew I was in the right place.
When Julius Caesar arrived in Alexandria, Arsinoe led the Egyptian army against him. She was a teenage warrior princess who actually managed to trap the greatest general in Roman history inside his own palace for months. But history is written by the victors. Arsinoe was captured, dragged to Rome in chains, paraded through the streets for public humiliation, and then exiled to the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus, sacred ground, supposedly untouchable. The Roman crowd had wept for her as a teenage girl in shackles, and that sympathy alone saved her life. In 41 BCE, Cleopatra convinced Mark Antony to send assassins to those temple steps. They dragged Arsinoe out and ended her life on the marble, one sister dead, one sister now the most powerful woman in the Mediterranean. Case closed, except the body never fully disappeared. In the early 1900s, Austrian archaeologists excavating Ephesus discovered a strange 8-sided tomb called the Octagon. Inside, a single young skeleton. The timeline matched, the location matched, the age matched. For decades, scholars whispered the same thing. This is her. This is Cleopatra's murdered sister. And if this is her, we finally have the genetic key to the queen herself. Then science caught up. The breakthrough happens in 2022. A team from the University of Vienna, led by anthropologist Gerhard Weber, finally locates the long-lost skull in the university archives.
It's very possible Cleopatra could have been buried in a similar shaft underneath a temple. There are actually quite a lot of examples of high-status, royal even individuals, royal women in particular, being buried in shaft tombs within temple complexes.
It has been sitting on a shelf, unnoticed, for decades. They do not just look at it, they see through it. High-resolution micro-CT scanners map every millimeter of the skull's interior at resolutions finer than a human hair. AI-assisted forensic software compares bone density, sutures, growth plates, and cranial deformities against global reference databases containing tens of thousands of documented ancient skulls. The software does in minutes what would have taken human researchers a decade. It flags anomalies a naked eye would miss. It identifies developmental markers no traditional forensic anthropologist could catch. It reconstructs the face in 3 dimensions. Then they drill into the petrous temporal bone, the densest bone in the human skull, a biological safe that preserves genetic material for thousands of years after every other bone has crumbled to dust. They extract ancient DNA, sequence it, and feed the results into modern bioinformatics pipelines trained on tens of thousands of ancient genomes. The AI compares markers against known populations, estimates ancestry, flags disease alleles, and cross-references the genetic profile against the morphological data from the scans. In January 2025, the results drop in scientific reports, and the reaction inside the lab is not celebration. It is silence. The computer spits out a result, The scientists check their equipment 3 times. They rerun the extraction. They resequence the sample. The numbers do not change. The skeleton is not Arsino. It is not a woman. The DNA confirms the presence of a Y chromosome. The sister of Cleopatra is a boy, an adolescent boy between 11 and 14 years old. And it gets worse. He was not healthy. He was suffering. The AI-driven reconstruction reveals severe developmental disorders. His jaw is stunted. His skull is asymmetrical, twisted in ways that suggest a serious genetic disease. The software flags markers consistent with Treacher-Collins syndrome or severe rickets, conditions that would have deformed his face from infancy. This is not a royal rival cut down in her prime. This is a disabled child whose face was shaped by illness long before any assassin ever reached the temple. Then comes the final blow. His DNA does not trace to Egypt. It traces to Italy or Sardinia. Roman territory, Roman blood. The genetic markers are wrong by over 1,000 miles.
We start excavating here, close between the lighthouse and the temple. And we uncover the first steps.
The 100-year-old mirror does not just crack, it shatters. We thought we were staring at Cleopatra's genetic twin. We were staring at a disabled Roman boy buried in a place he should never have been. The supposed scientific proof of Cleopatra's African lineage, gone. The reconstructed royal face, gone. Every documentary, every museum display, every academic paper that used this skeleton as the key, wrong, and the octagon itself gets stranger the longer you study it. It is a Hieron, a tomb built for a semi-divine hero figure. In ancient Greek and Roman tradition, you did not bury disabled foreign children in prestigious hero tombs. You buried generals, founders, saints. So, why is this boy there? Why was a deformed Italian child buried in one of the most honored funerary monuments in Ephesus, surrounded by the same marble reserved for demigods? Was he a hidden royal child of mixed Roman and Ptolemaic blood? An illegitimate son so politically dangerous he had to be buried with honors but 1,000 miles from anyone who knew his name? Was he a sacrifice? A scapegoat? The AI cannot answer that question. But it has made the mystery deeper, not shallower. But here is where the story turns. Because the AI did not just destroy our answer, it forced us to ask a harder question. If we cannot see Cleopatra through her sister's bones, we have to see her through her family. And her family is a genetic horror story. Breeding monsters. In Alexandria, the nightmare was not a secret. It was royal policy. Geneticists have a term for what the Ptolemies did to their own bloodline: pedigree collapse. In a normal family tree, the branches expand upward. 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents. The further back you go, the more ancestors you accumulate. It is a funnel opening outward to the world. Cleopatra's family tree did the opposite. It collapsed in on itself like a dying star. The Ptolemies were a Greek dynasty ruling Egypt, originally descended from one of Alexander the Great's generals. They wanted to keep their power absolute and their bloodline pharaonic. So they adopted the ancient Egyptian custom of close kin marriage and pushed it to horrifying extremes. They did not marry cousins, they married siblings, brother to sister, uncle to niece. Generation after generation, Cleopatra's own parents, Ptolemy XII and Cleopatra V, were most likely full siblings, her grandparents, uncle and niece, or possibly brother and sister. Going back further, the pattern repeats for centuries. This is a closed genetic loop operating like a failing ecosystem.
She's living at a time during the late Republic when Rome is having all these civil wars, and Egypt is really the last big independent kingdom left around the shores of the Mediterranean.
Geneticists estimate Cleopatra was born with a coefficient of inbreeding exceeding 45%. To put that in perspective, the child of 2 first cousins has about a 6% coefficient. That is a number that normally produces tragedy. 45% is not a number you survive. It is a number that kills dynasties. And the Ptolemaic line proves it. Because within a single generation of Cleopatra's death, the entire bloodline is extinct. Compare her to Charles II of Spain. Historians called him the Bewitched, the final, ruined end of the Habsburg dynasty, who practiced the same intermarriage the Ptolemies perfected. Charles was a medical. catastrophe. He could not speak until he was 4. He could not walk until he was 8. His jaw was so deformed, his top and bottom teeth could not touch. He literally could not chew his food. He swallowed everything whole. When he died at 38, the autopsy famously reported that his body contained barely a drop of blood. His head was full of water, and his heart was the size of a peppercorn. His inbreeding coefficient was around 25%. Cleopatra's was nearly double that. The science of why this destroys a body comes down to one word: homozygosity. Your DNA is supposed to be a conversation between your mother and father. One covers the flaws of the other. If your mother passes down a recessive gene for a weakness or a disease, your father usually passes down a healthy dominant gene to cancel it out. It is a biological safety net, woven over millions of years of evolution. Inside Cleopatra's DNA, there was no conversation. There was only an echo. The same genes, repeating the same errors, amplifying the same weaknesses across every generation. Her parents carried identical flaws because they were siblings. No healthy copy existed to step in and rescue her. Biologically speaking, she should not have been a beauty queen. She should have been a medical anomaly. The recessive disease load in a bloodline this closed is staggering. Every harmful gene that would normally be diluted across a wide population gets concentrated and reconcentrated until it becomes the default. Immune systems weaken, bones form incorrectly, organs develop asymmetries, heart walls thin, enzymes misfold. The body accumulates errors faster than it can repair them. And here is where the AI analysis becomes truly unsettling. Modern bioinformatics applied to what we know of Ptolemaic genetics flags the same kind of deformity profile we just found in that boy in Ephesus. Stunted jaw, cranial asymmetry, immune collapse, cognitive impairment, shortened lifespan. That is the predicted Ptolemaic phenotype. That is what the algorithm says a child of this family tree should look like. But the historical record says Cleopatra was brilliant. She spoke 9 languages fluently. She managed the richest economy in the Mediterranean. She charmed and manipulated the most powerful men in Rome. She ruled for more than 2 decades during the most dangerous political era in ancient history. She survived civil wars, Roman invasions, sibling coups, and the collapse of her own kingdom. She made decisions that reshaped the Western world. So, which is it? Was she the one statistical miracle who escaped a curse that destroyed every other branch of her family? Or was she hiding something we have completely misread for 2,000 years? If genetic nightmares like this one fascinate you, hit subscribe. We're decoding one every week. The Mask of Youth. To understand what Cleopatra was fighting, look at her great-granduncle, Ptolemy VIII. Because of the tangled family tree, he is essentially her direct genetic mirror, and he was a medical catastrophe walking. They called him Physcon, which translates roughly to potbelly. That was the polite version. Historical records describe him as morbidly obese, with limbs too weak to support his own frame.
Cleopatra had the ability to get men crazy over her and willing to conquer countries for her.
Attendants had to physically carry him through his own palace. Look closer at the ancient descriptions and a different picture forms. A visibly swollen neck, prominent bulging eyes, shortness of breath. Modern medical historians studying the Ptolemaic dynasty see a consistent disturbing pattern, a royal bloodline plagued by metabolic disorders, and most terrifying of all, the unmistakable markers of Graves' disease, an autoimmune disorder that attacks the thyroid gland. This is where the diagnosis gets truly haunting. Graves' disease does not just change how you look, it changes how you act. It floods the body with thyroid hormones, creating a state of constant hyperstimulation. Symptoms include manic, energy, rapid speech, chronic insomnia, obsessive thinking, erratic high-stakes behavior, tremors, heat intolerance, racing heartbeat that never settles. The patient feels like they are running a marathon while sitting still. Now, compare that list to every surviving description of Cleopatra. Historians have always praised her for boundless vitality, endless energy, the ability to work through the night, a restless, relentless pace. The Greek writer Plutarch described her as a woman whose presence filled a room before her voice did, a vibrating intensity that could not be ignored. Every biography frames this as genius, as proof of a superior mind. Medical anthropologists feeding these symptoms into modern diagnostic models are asking something darker. What if her legendary energy was not brilliance? What if the fire inside her was not inspiration, but a genetic thyroid storm inherited from the same ancestors who produced Physcon? What if those famous all-night strategy sessions with Caesar and Antony were not romantic tenacity, but medical insomnia she could not escape? What if the charisma Romans described as supernatural was actually a body in permanent crisis, burning fuel at a rate no healthy human could match? How does someone function at the highest level of global politics while a chronic disease is systematically destroying their body? How do you negotiate with Julius Caesar, bear his child, outmaneuver the Roman Senate, and manage an empire while your own cells are at war with themselves? The answer lies in a skill historians consistently overlook. She was not just a queen, she was a chemist. Egypt was the pharmaceutical capital of the ancient world, a superpower in chemistry, medicine, and botany. The Temple of Edfu housed entire pharmacies carved into the stone walls. Papyri from Alexandria lists thousands of compounds, tinctures, and surgical procedures centuries ahead of Roman medicine. And Cleopatra was born directly into the knowledge. She grew up in palaces staffed by the greatest physicians, herbalists, and alchemists of her era. She had the resources of an entire civilization dedicated to medicine sitting at her fingertips. If she lived with the chronic joint and bone pain of pedigree collapse, the same agony that crippled the Habsburgs, she had access to opium harvested from the poppy fields of Thebes, the ancient world's ultimate painkiller, refined by Egyptian priests into forms that could numb almost anything. Did she use it to stand tall through endless diplomatic receptions while her genetically compromised joints screamed underneath? If she suffered from the mania and insomnia of Graves's disease, she had access to kaife, a complex temple incense burned at night, famous for its sedative properties. The Greek writer Plutarch described its scent as something that lulled one to sleep and loosened the daily tension like a knot. For a woman possibly trembling with hyperthyroid energy, kaife was not perfume. It was medicine. Then there is the blue lotus, a mild psychoactive flower steeped in wine, producing a floating euphoric calm. We endlessly talk about her legendary charisma, but was that charisma natural, or was it a carefully calibrated cocktail of blue lotus wine and adrenaline, keeping her floating above the constant pain of a failing body? We know for a fact that Cleopatra wrote a book on cosmetics and medicine. It was called Cosmeticon. Fragments of it survived because later Roman physicians, including the famous Galen, quoted from it directly. She was not just buying makeup, she was researching it, formulating it, running experiments on her own body. The famous story of Cleopatra dissolving a priceless pearl in a cup of vinegar and drinking it to win a bet with Mark Antony has always been framed as pure theater, but modern chemists have tested it. Pearls are made of calcium carbonate. Vinegar is acetic acid. The two react. The pearl dissolves. The queen was not just flaunting wealth. She was demonstrating chemistry. She knew exactly what would happen because she had run the experiment before. She was a working chemist centuries before chemistry had a name. Why would a queen of her stature bother with any of this? If Ptolemaic genes gave her skin conditions, if Graves's disease gave her a goiter, if chronic inflammation gave her facial swelling, then her obsession with cosmetics was not vanity. It was camouflage. She likely experimented with kohl specifically to reshape eyes that might have been too prominent. She designed elaborate broad collars and heavy jewelry specifically to hide a swollen neck. She choreographed her public appearances the way a modern celebrity choreographs a red carpet, controlling the lighting, the angles, the distance between her body and the viewer. She was, arguably, the world's first biohacker, a brilliant woman trapped inside a failing body, using every trick of chemistry, botany, and art to project the image of a living goddess while privately treating herself like a terminal patient. She painted a beautiful lie over her face, but the truth is still underground, waiting, patient, inevitable, the court of the dead. Which brings us to the final stakes. because the truth we have been circling is not locked inside a Vienna archive. It is 30 miles west of Alexandria, buried under the floor of a crumbling temple called Taposiris Magna. And the woman closing in on it has spent 20 years proving the entire archaeological establishment wrong. For the last 20 years, one woman has been digging toward it. Her name is Kathleen Martinez. She is not a traditional archaeologist. She is a criminal lawyer from the Dominican Republic who walked away from law to chase a cold case 2,000 years old. Every serious Egyptologist told her she was wasting her life. Every expert in Alexandria told her the tomb was gone, drowned under the Mediterranean, erased by 15 centuries of earthquakes. She ignored all of them. She did not approach Cleopatra's disappearance like a history lesson. She approached it like a crime scene. While every mainstream Egyptologist insisted the tomb was buried under the drowned streets of Alexandria, Martinez built a different profile of her suspect, a queen who wanted to vanish on her own terms, a queen who wanted to be buried as the goddess Isis incarnate, a queen who needed a sanctuary so obscure no Roman army would ever find it. That profile pointed her away from the coast, inland, to the forgotten temple at Taposiris Magna. In 2022, the ground beneath her feet finally broke open. Her team smashed through limestone and found something that simply should not exist this far from any known royal site. A tunnel, not a small one. Over 4,300 feet long, nearly a full mile, carved through solid bedrock. 6 feet high, submerged in groundwater and mud, running in a dead straight line toward the Mediterranean. Architects called it a geometric miracle, an engineering masterpiece matching the legendary Greek tunnel of Eupalinos on Samos, considered one of the greatest classical engineering feats ever built. You do not dig a mile-long aqueduct through solid rock for a minor religious site. You dig it for something of absolute staggering importance. Off the coast, a sunken port emerged from the seafloor, proof the temple was not a remote outpost, but a hub, a destination worth the effort of kings. Inside the complex itself, Martinez found something colder, 16 rock-cut tombs, mummies sealed in for 2 millennia. And when her team peered into the crumbling faces of the dead, something glittered back, gold. Inside the mouths of the dead, where their tongues should have been, were amulets made of pure gold foil. The ancient Egyptians believed that to survive the afterlife, you had to speak directly to Osiris, lord of the underworld. You had to plead your case before a divine tribunal. A golden tongue granted what the priests called golden eloquence, the power to speak to a god and be heard. 16 of these, arranged in what looks less like a graveyard and more like a royal reception hall frozen in gold. Courtiers, priests, chosen companions, buried here, equipped with the magic to announce the arrival of their queen when she finally joined them. Some of them buried with elaborate gilded masks, amulets placed over the heart and throat, ritual positioning aligned with specific astronomical points. This is not random burial, this is choreography, a theological performance frozen in stone, waiting for the guest of honor to complete the scene. The door is about to open. Every signal points the same direction. The tunnel, the sunken port, the gold-tongued court. The geometric miracle built on a scale that makes no sense for anyone less than a pharaoh. Martinez is now closer to Cleopatra than any human being has been in 2,000 years. And after everything the AI has just told us, the stakes of what she finds have changed completely. If Martinez breaks that final seal, we will not find a beauty queen. We will find a medical archive, a 2,000-year-old case file written in bone. Her sarcophagus will tell us whether her skeleton shows the stunted jaw and cranial asymmetry the AI models predict, whether her thyroid bones show the telltale erosion of Graves' disease, whether her joints show the wear of chronic pain management, whether traces of opium, lotus, or Kai-Fi resin still cling to the linen that wrapped her body, whether her teeth show the enamel damage of a woman who dosed herself with acidic tonics for decades, whether her skull shows surgical interventions no historian ever recorded. We will get the answer to the question that has haunted geneticists for decades. Was she the miracle who escaped the Ptolemaic curse? Or was she the silent sufferer who ruled in spite of it, hiding her body behind layers of gold, coal, and carefully crafted myth? Every century has tried to erase her. Earthquakes leveled her cities. Tsunamis dragged her palace beneath the waves. Christian emperors defaced her temples. Arab conquerors repurposed her monuments. Napoleon's soldiers looted her artifacts. Hollywood rewrote her face. And still, through all of it, she has refused to disappear on anyone else's terms. That is the real miracle of Cleopatra. Not her beauty, not her seduction, her refusal to be buried by anyone but herself. For now, the tunnel stays silent, swallowed by the heavy, suffocating stillness of the earth. The air down there is thick with 2,000 years of dust, undisturbed, watching. Above ground, the DNA sequencers and ground-penetrating radar units sit idle, waiting like hungry predators. Modern keys designed to unlock a door bolted shut for over 2 millennia. The same AI that destroyed the Ephesus skeleton myth is already running simulations on what her genome should look like. It has built a predictive model. It has drawn a face. It has whispered. Its prediction to the researchers who dare to listen. The ghost of the last pharaoh is still keeping her secrets. She continues to taunt the archaeologists who have given their lives to find her. But the silence is temporary. Every year, the technology sharpens. Every year, the AI gets smarter. The databases get bigger. The gap between legend and biology narrows. One morning soon, that seal breaks. A sequencer reads a gene she inherited from parents who were siblings. A scan maps a jawbone shaped by a disease she spent her life hiding. A residue test confirms she was medicating herself with the ancient world's most powerful painkillers. And 2,000 years of mythology gets rewritten in a single afternoon. The AI has already warned us what to expect. The pattern is in the family tree. The evidence is in the shattered mirror. The answer is buried 30 feet beneath a temple floor, waiting for a criminal lawyer from the Dominican Republic to finally reach it. The tools are ready. The team is ready. The last pharaoh is not. We just have not opened the door yet. But when we do, the woman we find will not be the one from the paintings. She will be something stranger, something sadder, something far more terrifying than a seductress, a genetic survivor, a chemist ruling an empire while her own body betrayed her, a mind so sharp it conquered 2 of Rome's greatest generals while a disease she never named ate her alive. So, if they open that tomb tomorrow and the DNA reveals a woman shaped by disease and deformity instead of the Hollywood face, do we burn the history books, or does knowing what she overcame make her 1,000 times more impressive? Drop your theory below, subscribe, and stick around. The next mystery we're cracking will rewrite another name you thought you knew.